Good after, actually, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first presentation for SWAT 2025, Freedom at Your Fingertips, Exploring Black Texas History in the Digital Age. I am really happy for the opportunity to have met Kathy Marshall. She is an Indie Book Award winner, but I'm just going to read a little from her bio. Kathy Lynn Kanika Marshall isn't just a genealogist, she is a historical detective. I love that word. Giving voice to the forgotten. Meticulous research and a touch of creative empathy, she unearths the story of women, African Americans, and other unsung heroes who shaped America. Imagine experiencing history through the eyes of those who lived it. That's the power of Kathy's speculative nonfiction. But she doesn't stop there. Kathy empowers others to reclaim their heritage, reading workshops, sharing her successful research, and self publishing secrets so anyone can become the author of their own family story. Kathy has been featured in Sacramento Magazine, the Sacramento Bee, the Sacramento Observer, Sacramento News and Review, and Elk Grove Citizen. She has been interviewed on CBS TV, Fox 40 TV for the annual genealogy seminar in Sacramento, as well as several podcasts. She has delighted audiences at local and national genealogy and writing conferences, including as keynote speaker in 2024. She also served as a consultant to West Virginia's Beverly Heritage Center. She has multiple book awards, including from the Next Generation Indie Book Awards, North Carolina Publishers and Authors, Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, and Sons and Daughters of the U.S. Middle Passage. She is a member of the California Writers Club, Oak Grove's Writers Guild, Black Women Write, AAHGS, and SGUSMP. As the multi-award winning artist known as Kanika, her Afrocentric welded steel and ceramic sculptures have been shown on American Spark TV at the California State Capitol and 15 California State Fair Fine Arts shows. As Kanika Marshall, she also wrote a book of fictional short stories called Dreamscapes Anthology, where fantasy, suspense, and joy intersect. Oh, wow. Kathy's books are available on Amazon and the African American Literature Book Club. Welcome,
Thank you.
Kathy.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks very much for coming. As she says, my name is Kathy Lynn Kanika Marshall, and I'm delighted to be here to give you some hints on how you too can leave a written legacy of family history. First of all, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Is it fine? Okay. Anyway, so we're going to have a short hands-on exercise to help get you started on your book or your family research. So please have a pencil or a pen and maybe a paper, smartphone, whatever, so that you can do this wonderful hands-on exercise in a few minutes. Feel free to type your questions in the chat and we'll talk about them after the presentation. And also, it looks like everyone's muted, so thank you very much. Okay, you ready to go? Yay. My intention today is to help you understand that you can find information about your kin in this age of digitalization. People may tell you you can't find any African American history. It's wrong. You can, and you can prove it. And we're going to talk about some ways to do that. Online access to genealogy documents makes it so much easier to find information to write rich stories about our ancestors. And this will mostly be a basic course today with a few intermediate concepts that are thrown in for good measure. To help you get started on your family stories, I'm going to invite you to try my focus exercise to help you figure out which book that you might want to write first. I'm going to share the best secret in town. I know there's only a few, but you spread the word. I'm going to share the best secret in town, especially for adoptees who never knew their parents and descendants of enslaved people whose families were often sold away from each other. Today, during this hour, you will find out how to have thousands of family members in less than 44 days. To see 1,000 family members in less than 44 days for less than $100. I sound like a snake oil salesperson. Anyway, does it sound like a good use of your time that you might be able to get that type of amazing information for so little? Anyway, it's for real. So I hope that you'll stick around and hear what this is all about. First of all, I'd like to share a little bit about my personal genealogy journey. I'll try not to repeat what Karen already said. So I was born Kathy Lynn Marshall in Cleveland, Ohio. I was a researcher, analyst, technical writer, and personnel consultant for the 11,000 member California Highway Patrol for 36 years. So Karen's got me beat with 40. For 10 of those years, I taught 600 analysts how to complete their work assignments using research methodology, and it's a system that I honed from my master's program. Like everyone else, I read Alex Haley's amazing emotional book called Roots, the Saga of an American Family. And in 1976, I sat stupefied watching actually, I think the TV show came on in 1977, sat stupefied watching every minute of the Roots miniseries that flooded our TV screen. Some of y'all may be too young to know about that, but it was amazing. And even though I started collecting family history documents in 1976, it was a kick in the pants from my departed ancestors that helped me become a genealogist in 2016 at the age of 60. I modified the writing process that I taught at the Highway Patrol to writing family lineage books. It's the same process. Any y'all, you're in call, you know this. It's the same basic methodology, but I made it so that it's perfect for writing books, writing your family history. Anyway, so I've since published 9 heritage books, including the communities in which my Marshalls, Carters, Williams, Bookers, Myers, Roys, and Smiths lived in Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, DC, Virginia, and California. Thankfully, with access to so many documents from the comfort of our home these days, it's much easier to become successful at finding our African ancestors. So more of us are writing our stories these days. I'm so glad to hear it too. Oh, instead of letting others write or not write our family history, we can do it ourselves. Hello. My speculative nonfiction stories are also called creative nonfiction, are based on the genealogical proof standard, facts. But my stories are mostly told from the point of view of my ancestors, and I'll give you some examples later on. Now, I wasn't there in 1874 to witness the birth of my great-grandfather, Otho Sherman Williams, but I studied enough about that time period and the place that I wrote his birth as though we were all there watching and listening to the event. I want to make it interesting so that my grandchildren will want to read it, and anybody else too. I'm honored that my books have won 7 international national book awards, and I want to encourage everyone, no matter your ethnic background, to start writing your family stories now. And I'm going to do my best to get you started today, to get you really interested in doing it today. Okay. My mother, Mary Carter, was born in Mount Vernon, Ohio in 1934. My father, Dr. Thomas Marshall, was born in 1931 in Cleveland, my birthplace too. But Dad moved us to Washington, then California, away from all of our family. We heard few family stories. I hear these genealogists that say, oh, I was on my grandpa's knee listening to all the stories of the old. I didn't have that. I didn't have none of it. So in 1976, I wrote letters to my grandmothers, wondering why. Where's the color? Where's it at? Where's my melanin? And I visited Ohio several times, interviewed my elders, and haphazardly collected documents for 40 years. I threw them in a box. I had some in my computer folders. I didn't do anything with it. 40 years I'm collecting stuff. I failed to properly organize or analyze those documents, and I failed to write my family history. And at age 60, one of those decade birthdays, I worried that my sons would throw away the documents I had collected if I died tomorrow. When you start thinking about stuff like that. They're really nice men, they're great kids, but they don't care about family history. You know what I'm talking about? Any of you care about family history? It's okay, you're young. You can. So on October 1st, 2016, my ancestors became my boss. They demanded that I write one book a year, no excuses. So the process we're going to chat about today helped me meet their mandate to self-publish one family lineage book per year since 2016. And I'm hoping my story will invigorate you to do the same for your family. First, let's start with a few basics. What is genealogy anyway? Genealogy is the study of families, family history, and the tracing of their lineages. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate the kinship, the relationship, the pedigrees of its members. Think of the Daughters of the American Revolution, who are very stringent about the correct way to do genealogy. Unfortunately, the descendants of former slaves who were viewed as property prior to 1865 have difficulty meeting DAR's standards. We didn't have birth certificates like they require or death certificates like they require, for the most part, if you were an enslaved person. The Sons and Daughters of the U.S. Middle Passage is a lineage society that helps African Americans prove our lineage. So you just have to prove that you had some enslavement in your past history. It's the same basic model as DAR, but why it's important, I never cared about DAR at all because they didn't have a good reputation with African Americans for a long time. But their library is one of the best in the world for genealogy, for historical, especially the genealogy piece, and I want to get my family's records into their library. So anyway, a genealogist conducts thorough research to trace and document family lineages using a variety of historical records, archives, and databases. They investigate birth and death records, census data, immigration records, wills, military records, and other relevant documents to piece together family trees. They document and organize information, verify data accuracy, and interpret its historical context. A genealogist often collaborates with clients, uses DNA testing, provides written reports, follows ethical practices, and stays updated on research methods. But how is a genealogist different from a family historian? People always are asking, well, which one am I? I dabble a little bit. A family historian researches and preserves a family's history and genealogy, going beyond basic lineage tracking to explore the stories, context, and cultural background of their ancestors. They might digitize photos, research historical records, and curate family narratives. Essentially, they're more storytellers and archivists of family heritage. Who cares about the title? Let's just get started today. Okay, Freedom at Your Fingertips, Exploring Black Texas History in the Digital Age. This is an awesome, intriguing title. I love it. I love it. Those of us interested in family history are lucky to live in this digital age. Just turn on your computer, enter some search words, and let Google or AI find the answer to your question. Well, it's not that easy, but it's pretty close if you're an oldster like me that had the dial-up modems back in 1980. So anyway, back in the day, you had to travel to the home of your ancestors to find records of their existence. And for African Americans and adoptees, we're kind of the same. When it comes to this, when it comes to documentation, contracts, all that good stuff, it's kind of the same. The task was nearly impossible to find birth and death certificates or other usual genealogy documents. Did you know that about 90% of all African Americans had been enslaved at some point in their lives as of 1860? The enslaved were legally regarded as property, not human beings, so it's nearly as tough to find out about our ancestors as it is for adoptees to find their families. And genealogy trips are expensive if you have to travel to the local courthouses where your families lived to scour the records on site. For me, a 7 to 10 day genealogy trip costs about $3,000. Airfare, car rental, hotel, food. But for me, it's worth it to visit those places to get an idea of the sounds, the smells, the sights that my ancestors may have experienced. and touch the original documents containing their names. Like Karen, I think you said, if I read correctly, that you're like fifth generation or something. You've been in Texas for a long time. Is that,
Yes,
did I?
yes. Mhm.
So it'll be easier for you to be able to find out where those records are. I need, well, you're a historian. You've already looked. Sorry. I'm sorry.
So right.
Yeah, yeah. But so it's worth those places. It's worth doing the travel for what I gain. But many individuals cannot afford the luxury of traipsing around the world to find documents. So my Finding Marshalls, a genealogy trip with a black and white twist, which kind of brought me here today. Thank you very much, Karen. Um, it was a wonderful experience. And it brought me here today in 2021, right after COVID, right when the airlines were starting to let us fly again. I sent out an itinerary to all the people I had met in my genealogy journey, including white people who shared my DNA. And this one woman, she says, I want to go with you. Can I go with you? So that's what that book is about. It is about the experience of me driving with this woman I don't know, with a background I do not have. She's Latter-day Saint, lives in Utah, blonde hair. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. We shared a hotel room. We went together in the car all over Georgia to meet with our common ancestors, white and black, mixed, all that stuff. It was amazing. That's what that book's about, Finding Marshalls. And I was so jazzed that it won a New Generation Indie Book Award as in the finalist category. And so that's what we want to do. That I know Karen said it earlier. I know all Jason, you want to help people in this realm. We've got to be talking, we've got to be doing it, we've got to be sharing the experience, we've got to be encouraging others to do the same and join this boat so that we stay afloat. Even so, the online availability of many genealogy documents is so handy thanks to thousands of volunteers around the world who have spent decades photocopying and now transcribing all sorts of helpful records. Freedmen's Bureau records are an example of some of the most valuable records for African Americans who are researching their families who lived during and shortly after the Civil War. Millions of records are now at our fingertips, and I'll give you a few little specifics later. Okay. So it's great to keep your own family tree information on your own computer or in your own binders. Some of these are binders that have my genealogy information. But what happens if your computer dies? I make backups on the cloud. No problem. Well, that's a great idea, but still, that's a solitary endeavor. Nobody may know you've been collecting all this priceless information for years if you keep it all to yourself. And when you pass away, all this stuff's going to be gone. My boy's going to clean out my house real quick. So experts recommend that you store your family tree information and the information you're collecting about your family in some kind of online tree. So many people can access the information about your deceased ancestors. So here are some of the major companies that have online websites that hold tree info. And I don't know if you guys want to get into I just have some little blurbs here on what they are. If you ever choose to, to do this work yourself, FamilySearch.org, they're kind of the originators. Their religion, Latter-day Saints, they believe in connecting the world. They are the original genealogists in a way. They're collecting documents to prove how you're connected. And it's free. FamilySearch.org is free. That's all I needed to know. Wikitree.com is another free source, and it's another one world tree saying that we all are connected, so there's only going to be one Kathy in the whole database. Kathy Lynn Marshall, there's going to be one. The difference is in Ancestry.com, which is probably the largest genealogy company out there. And it does a ton of things, and I love it. I'm glad we have it. 68 million public and private trees, costs about $300 a year, and it can be more if you want more add-ons. Um, it's an excellent system, and I personally use that more, even though FamilySearch.org is free. It's an excellent, they're all excellent. MyHeritage is great. It's probably the best, in my opinion, but it's mainly for Europeans. I mean, it's mainly got European members. And so for me, as an African American, I haven't found much. It's a great system though. So anyway, just to keep in mind. And so some of these are around $300 and just depends on how much you want to do. So again, I'm not sure your background and your personal interest in this, but hopefully you will be interested because whatever your story, even if it's just your life story, is going to be interesting to people who come after you. So kind of be thinking about it in the back of your mind. You don't have time right now to do this. I know. You guys are studying, you got plenty to do. But in your spare time, maybe just think about it. And if you're ever around your elders, maybe hopefully some of what I'm saying will occur to you and you might get out your smartphone and start interviewing them, taking pictures. We're going to get in that in a second. So, but for those who want to write, because Karen especially got into this as I read, because you wanted to publish a book, you know, this program that has now morphed into this program that we're here today, you were interested in publishing. And so a lot of people feel that that's the only way to get your research out there is publishing a paperback or an ebook. That's really popular. And I love them, believe me. I take this baby to the gym and that's where I do my reading. But there are many, many other ways of collecting your research data. And I won't go into a lot of detail on this because I'm not sure, again, how much time the folks who are here have. But all these different ways you could actually do your research and present it and get people to understand what you're working on and collaborate with other folks who are maybe researching in the same locations as you are. Blogs, a lot of blogs out there. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. Facebook pages, absolutely. A lot of folks use that. Instagram, those are the two best as far as the social media with regard to research. You may or may not know this, and this is the only thing I'll say on it, is that there are a lot of specific social media pages that are for specific counties in specific states, for specific, like there's a lot of African American genealogy sites in Mississippi, okay? Our Black ancestry is mainly Macon, Mississippi, but it's everywhere. So if you ever get into this, know that there are lots and lots of specific Facebook pages and social media pages that will help you decide what you want to do. And some of the folks have actually made documentaries. That's my goal. Oh my gosh. So Rick Murphy, he made this documentary recently called Arrival of the First Africans in English America. Now, let's see, so you're all in Texas right now. So, but this would apply mainly to Virginia, the first African. It is awesome. It's won a bunch of awards. And Regina Mason's Gina's Journey in Search of William Grimes was the first one I saw. And she was at Roots Tech, which is the largest genealogy event in the world. And it's every March, beginning of March, end of February. And she was there showing her documentary for the first time. Those of us who are researchers, all of us here, you can also present your work to the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society quarterly journals. So I do a lot of that. But anyway, so there's a lot of different ways that you can get your information out there. So what are the next steps? The best thing is to start with a family tree, starting with yourself. And this is an example of what a family tree could look like. At the very bottom of the trunk is my name. On the left side of the tree are my mother's people, and the right side of the tree are my father's people. This is kind of a standard visual way that you can see what we mean. So you need to, the whole thing about genealogy is you need to find documents that prove who your parents are, your grandparents, and on and on and on. That's where this whole thing of the law, contracts that we were talking about before, that's all wrapped up. We need to get those things. And it's ugly to look at when you see your families listed on a bill of sale. You are going to be mad.
Mhm.
You're going to want to punch somebody. But after a while, you're going to be glad that you see it because now you know where they were at this time in their lives. You know who they were around. Once you know who that slave owner is, you can go ahead and research the heck out of the slave owner's contracts. Because yes, it is all about contracts. We don't like to admit it, but that is true. It is true. And as a genealogist, we need to get that documentation. And so, but the first step is just to do a family tree. And again, ideally, you would put it online so that others can can help and see and take advantage of what you found. Some people don't. Some people like a private tree, and that's your choice.
Kathy,
Mhm.
are we supposed to be seeing slides?
Yes, you don't see slides?
I don't. Do you guys see slides?
Have you
You
not
do?
been seeing slides the whole time?
I can see him. I've been able
Oh,
to see him.
okay, great. That's wonderful.
But you haven't seen any slides?
They have, I haven't, so I could just be in a different kind of
It's
window.
on top of the oh, it'll be a picture, I think.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the slice is on top of the picture.
As long as everyone can see them, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully it's recording with the,
It
but
is
if not,
recorded.
you have it. You have it anyway. I gave you the link, so if it
You're
if it
you're
it's
fine. I just wanted to make sure if everybody else is,
sorry.
yeah.
She's saying, Dr. K saying, what's going on here? Okay, so I put on here just a list of some of the types of records that are helpful to collect, and that would be your proof. We need proof of each of these places on the family tree. We need proof, and so here we go. These are some of the proof documents that we need to collect. Court records, land deeds, birth, manumissions, really important. Marriage, school, death records, family lore, interview your elders, interview your relatives. What do you know about great grandpa so and so? Ship manifests for the enslaved people who were taken from Maryland all the way down around the coast, all the way down to the deep south. Slave sales, social security cards, passports, family papers, wills, medical records for the Freedmen's Bureau records. I found some amazing things for my current book in progress, my Carters and Roys in DC and Virginia, medical records. Oh, and they proved that this is the daughter of this mom. It was excellent. Wills, let's see, cemetery records, biographies, family names, residences, military. So those are just some of the documents that you can collect, and that's going to help do what we need to do is prove the lineage. And again, the Freedmen's Bureau records, Freedmen's Bureau was established in 1865 to assist formerly enslaved people and impoverished whites in the South after the Civil War. Most people don't know that it also applied to white folks. These records include names, family relationships, employment, education, and more. And many of them were hidden for, gosh, how many years? I think they said 120 years. They were not, nobody knew that they existed at all. They were at the National Archives. Yeah, millions of records that tell our story. They're incredibly important. And so what I have on here, it's probably too small. Hopefully you can see them, but it has the actual links. I prefer to use the Smithsonian portal. The African American Smithsonian Museum has a portal, and I have a link on here that takes you right there. And you plug in who you think if you know of any of your folks who may have been around during the Civil War era, 1860 to 1865 or 6, you can put their names right in there. First name, last name, and what the state is. And it's going to pull up records if we have records on them. So I just love that. You can get it from ancestry.com also, but ancestry.com is kind of pricey. I understand though that ancestry.com for a lot of the Black records, African American records, you don't have to have an account and you can still research there. And then of course familysearch.org is the king and it's free. So why not go there if you can? Okay, and this is what I keep harping on. Interview your elders as soon as you can. If you're all together at Thanksgiving, how many of you have Thanksgiving or Christmas or Kwanzaa together with some of your family members?
How about
Ever?
4th of July? 4th of July.
4th of
They need to
July,
start
Juneteenth.
doing
Okay, whenever you get yourselves together, there's going to be some older folks there, right? Again, please get your smart because you may not care, but your children may care. If you have kids, if you have nieces, nephews, they may care. Our family historian, Lavada Williams, she was on the very front screen. She had no children. She had no husband. And she was our official family historian collecting these records. So anyway, interview your elders as soon as possible and be sure to videotape them for posterity. Understand, though, many of our elders endured significant hardships and may not want to relive them. They will say, child, you don't have to talk about that. That's the past. Don't worry about the past. Okay, but you need to know the past. But you need to be gentle. So you don't just go over to grandma's house and say, hey, who was your daddy anyway? How come you look like this? Where's your color? You don't ask those kind of questions right up front. No, 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 no. Maybe consider calling them first, saying something like, hey, Grandma, can I come by and see you? I tried a new recipe for chocolate chip cookies and I'd like your opinion. And maybe we can catch up on girl stuff or boy stuff or whatever, you know. So bring their favorite beverage with you and something that they like to eat. Hey, Grandma, look what I have for you. Start off slow. Walk around their favorite room and ask questions about the photos on the wall. Ask permission to take pictures. Oh, because so and so might be interested in seeing this. My niece was asking me some questions about something or other, whatever. So is it okay if I take pictures? Ask their permission and photograph the heck out of those photos, any documents, what their rooms look like. Because if later you want to write a book about them, or your kids might want to write a book about them, you'll have pictures to show them. Oh, like this room, one wall in my bedroom is pink of all things. I don't like pink, but it is. And it's all, you will be able to do that for them. So even though you may not care, maybe the folks who come after you and those elders won't be around when people finally get the bug. So it's just a thought. So ask some benign questions, like from a memoir journal. So my mother had a memoir journal, which is in that picture. And you can buy them in bookstores or, of course, on Amazon. And they have questions, simple little questions like describe your child. Hey, Grandma, what was your childhood bedroom like? Or did your family eat something special on Sundays or Thanksgiving? That's what this up here says. This is my mother's response. What did you eat for Thanksgiving, Mom? One Thanksgiving, let's see, where is that? Dun, 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 dun. Oh gosh. Sorry about that. Dun, 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 dun. I can't see what I
Well,
wrote.
we can see it.
I
Is it
can't read
what?
my writing. Anyways,
Can we read it? You want
well,
me to read it?
yes, because your pictures are on top of it on my screen. So I
Okay. So it says one Thanksgiving season, Grammy Carter had a live turkey for several months. We got to know this bird. Then it was time to kill the bird for Thanksgiving. His neck was wrung, and he was prepared to eat. Well, I remember I could not eat that turkey. I was not from a farm, and this was very sad for me to see. Exclamation points throughout.
So this booklet, my mother had received it in 1996 when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She filled out about a third of all the questions, or about 300 or so questions in there. She filled out a third. When we found out she was terminal in 2006, I helped her fill out another third. These are her words. When I write her biography, I can use her words. That's the beauty of doing it now for people who come later. So it's just a thought. It's just a thought, and hopefully it'll come up. Okay, let's see. What is this? I wish I didn't have all of these on top here. Okay. Dun. Let's do that. So remember early on when I bragged that you would learn the best secret in town, finding thousands of relatives in less than 44 days for less than $100? Well, this is what I meant. Buy DNA tests around the holidays, especially for your elders. So we got July 4th coming up. Usually those companies that I mentioned before, Ancestry.com, MyHeritage, they have their DNA test kits on sale, usually half off during holidays. So that's why I said you could probably do it for a lot less than $100. And so when you go and you interview your elders, take that DNA kit with them, because when you're there with them and they're all buttered up and they're all feeling good, they got their beverage, they got their little sweets, and you're letting them talk, you're just letting them talk and you're recording what they say. Videotape is better because you get to see them, but don't hold it up in their face like that. You know, maybe if you have a little tripod or something to just put it out there, let them talk and then say, oh, wow, grandma, I'm going to show you something. I took a DNA test and look what I learned in my DNA test. Most people, and I'll do this a little bit more, but most people buy a DNA test because they want to find out where in Africa we came from. What percentage comes from Nigeria? Yeah. We're going to go in a little bit more in a second, but you're talking to the grandma and you're saying, wow, look at this. So, because that's what people care. So you're going to show your grandma, hey, look at what we found. We come from blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then you say, but you know what? Man, oh man, I wish I was older. I wish I was closer to the era of the ancestors, the enslaved people, because my DNA is not so good. Because, you know, half of it comes from my mom, half comes from dad, a quarter comes from the grandparents. And when you start getting back to the slavery days, there's just nothing left for someone like me. The older you are, the closer you are to the ancestors, which is good. That means your DNA is gold. But, you know, I don't have that. And you hope that your grandma's going to say, well, I want to know what my results say. And then you pull out that DNA kit that you already bought, right? Because you can buy 10 for the price of 5 during the vacation times, you know, the holiday times. I'm just throwing it out there because we got a holiday coming up and you can buy as many as you want, right, you know, early. And if you happen to be at a Thanksgiving gathering or a reunion or July 4th, well, you can't do it that quick because it'll take a week for the kit to get to you. But it's just a thought. And just have them on hand and just snap at it. If an elder says, yay, but you have to understand DNA is for real and DNA don't lie. And DNA will most likely uncover some secrets that did not want to be told. It's very important that everybody understand that before they spit in that tube. It's a saliva sample. If you don't know, it's just a little tiny tube. It's about a tablespoon of saliva you have to put in this tube, and then you send it into the company, and about, you know, 3-4 weeks, they'll send you back the results. So it's important though to make sure that before you have someone spit in the tube, they know. And I just say, you know what, our people had to do what they had to do. We didn't often have choice, and stuff happened. That's all I say, but it happened and it's real. So, but if that elder says, yeah, I want to take one, I want to find out my stuff, just whip it out. I just happen to have some in my car. There you go. This gives you an idea of, okay, so we got that. Sorry about that. Oh no. Let's see. Let's go back. Okay. So which DNA company is best? I kind of already went over this, that in general, Ancestry.com is the biggest and it does the most things. MyHeritage is the second biggest and it's a wonderful site. It's great with DNA. It's great with the family tree. It's great with DNA analysis tools, but it's mostly European. 23andMe is a great company, but it went bankrupt recently and has recently been bought up again. Living DNA, I don't know so much about it. And I'm putting the prices in here so you can get an idea. And again, there's a range based on the sale or not. This one on the very bottom, AfricanAncestry.com, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's been a company that's been around for, I think, a couple decades. And they specialize in being able to tell you which tribes, specific tribes you came from. That is what they say that they can do. And so the reviews are mixed. Many Black genealogy experts say it's not good. It's not correct. It's mainly a maternal test. That would be the matriclan. But there are some people who rave about it and love it. So, and it's very expensive, extremely expensive, but they love it. So you have to make up your own mind. It is available. And I think it's very important for you to know that it is available. Okay, so where are we? This is just some examples of what you can get from a DNA test. And again, this is the percentage. So these are my percentages. 16% from Nigeria, but Benin and Togo, and it's kind of cool, but so what? I want to know which specific person came from this specific tribe in this specific country. I don't really care about the country level for me personally. And so DNA is used in conjunction with documents. Documents will help us find the people. Well, DNA is going to give us the tree that we're barking up the right tree. Okay, so that is going to help us immeasurably, because this is a little more of what DNA is going to get you. Yes, what I just showed you, what percentage comes from different countries, ancestral journeys. Can you see my cursor going around and around? Oh, good, you can see it now, Dr. Karen. So ancestral journeys is very interesting. So all of us, or most of us, our families came from Virginia. In general, Angolan 1619, you probably heard that. As far as English-speaking America that came in at that time, they migrated or were migrated from Virginia elsewhere. And so your DNA can help tell where you guys came, where you started, and how far you went. And so they give you lots of really interesting information about those journeys. And so I've got a couple of groups that early Southern USA, evidently my family migrated across, and certainly Texas is right after this migration of this main Southern and then into Texas. So it's interesting, gives you some, and then back here on the far right, it's traits. I'm personally not at all interested in traits. Do I snore? Because on my dad's side, they snored. That's what that is, the types of traits. But a lot of people find it very interesting. So there's a bunch of trait stuff up there. Yay, who? The gold is right here. The gold is matches. Look, you see this down here? What does that say? What does that say? 26,498 people match my DNA. What does that mean? It means we share a common ancestor. For sure. For absolute sure. Absolute sure. DNA don't lie. We share blood, absolute sure. 26,000 people. Well, who are they?
Wow.
That's where the documents come into play. This helps us though, because it's that list of 26,000. The people at the top of the list are the ones that match me closest. Now, I didn't put that particular number out here because that would be my brother and sister and all that, and I didn't want you, but they go from the closest relations all the way down. So you don't know who your daddy was or your mama was, maybe they took a DNA test and they're going to show up right there like that. And it's going to give you a guesstimate of what that relationship is. How much more do you need? My gosh. And so you can contact these people like Renee Grant, third cousin once removed. That means we share probably a second great grandparent. I'm looking for my second great grandparents right now. I'm going to contact that person. And I'm going to see if I can access their tree online first. Get as much information as you can first, especially if they're Caucasian and you're not. You get as much information as you can before you contact them, because they may block you. Serious business. They may not respond to you. But that may be for a lot of reasons too. It may not just be that, but it might be. So you get as much information as you can. This is the gold. This is the gold. So if you're ever struggling, or if you know people who are doing genealogy and they're stuck, please tell them about this. Get a DNA test. Remind them DNA don't lie. There may be secrets that come out. If they're adopted, hey, woo, do it. They will find who their family is. They may not find out their mother or their father, but it is guaranteed they're going to find some cousins, a lot of cousins, and they can contact them and on and on. It becomes uncomfortable for sure. But if I were in that place, if I were adopted, I would sure want to know. It's a delicate thing though. It's not a laughing matter, but it's a wonderful thing. And for us, it's a lifesaver, a lifesaver. Okay, so again, the topic of this is all about digitalization, and that's where this all comes in. A lot of this stuff is just online, and it's beautiful, and we are very fortunate to have it. Okay. So, don't make the mistake I made for 40 years. Organize your documents by family line, then person within the family line. You can put them in your computer. I like to put them in my computer, actually. And I just, I have a file name where I put the surname underscore, first name underscore, the year of the document underscore, and then what that document is. It makes it easier to sort. Do you guys use spreadsheets at all? At all? Yeah. I love spreadsheets. As I say, I was a researcher analyst. I was data all day long. Nothing but the facts, man. That's it. Um, but this is just a way to get started. So you can create a timeline of events that include the names, the birth dates, and all that. That's only if you're really getting into it, though. Let's face facts. But I can't write good. That's what I hear from. So I'm a member, as Karen said, to a lot of writing organizations because I was a technical writer and I want to break out of that and write interesting stuff that's factual but interesting. So I come across a lot of people who say that from this particular presentation, but I don't know how to. I don't know my spelling. Well, you guys are in school, so I know because the computer can do it even if you don't have the skills. You know how to fix your papers and make them look good, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. So these are just some suggestions for them about joining writing organizations, hiring a professional editor, stuff like that. Okay, and then the last steps, and this is just if people are gonna do the paperback and all that stuff. Here are just some things to know if you don't already know it. You write your draft manuscripts, which is just similar to your assignments. You finish that up though, it has to be perfect though for review by the instructor. And so you have to do that, but you can hire someone to do that for you. You've got to create a cover, front and back, put the wonderful, exciting blurb on the back about what your book's about, get beta readers. I don't know if you guys do that for your classes. You get people to read what you've written and give you some suggestions before you hand it to the professor. I don't know. But that's what a beta reader would be, to give you feedback about the content. Hey, this doesn't make sense. Okay, and then lots of different ways to print it. I tend to print on Amazon's Kindle because it is the easiest way. And I'm going to be giving a class next week, July 8th and 9th, for the Midwest African American Genealogical Institute. It's a 3-day hands-on institute for genealogy, and this will be the writing track that I'll be doing. And I'm going to be teaching them how to make that manuscript and then how to upload it to
Can you
Amazon's
can you
for free.
please share information? Is it private
I'm
or
sorry?
is it private? Can you invite people to that one? To the one that you're going to do, the workshop?
So it's a workshop that you have to pay for. I think it's like $350. And the cutoff was last week, unfortunately.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
But if you're interested in anything like that, you just contact me because I pre-record all of my presentations and I put them
Mhm.
on YouTube. So I have YouTube links
Okay.
that I'll be happy to send to you if you're interested. Just contact me. I don't
Okay.
trying to think of which email is going to work. But anyway, I have it on the last page, and didn't I say that there's going to be some kind of exercise? I put it near the,
Yes.
and so here we go. I hope I hope it's still in here. Okay, so I'm going to sail past this stuff because I've been talking for too long. This is just telling you briefly for this book, Finding Otho, my very first success at finding an enslaver. And so 2016, 3 months, I did 10-hour workdays of looking through land deeds, trying to find my folks listed. And yeah, it was terrible. It wasn't until January 4th of the next year, 2017, that I found this amazing source, the manumissions of Washington County, Maryland, and land deeds. And it opened up all the doors. Okay, so I'm going to skip that. The next one, actually, this is part of the Finding Otho book, but I started getting so successful that I had 600 pages, single space,
Wow.
11 font. I was so successful at finding the documents that a friend of mine, Denise Gray, she said, that's too big. 600 pages, you can't even fit it in your hand. You got to break something off, girl. So I broke off the descendants of this, my second great grandfather, Otho Williams. All of his descendants, they get a chapter in this book. And for people who are interested again, I just started on your book, Dr. Karen, but it's like that. You've got several stories in a book. In this case, it's one chapter per person. And so many people can write 5 pages on an ancestor, including pictures and all that. That's what this is. And oh my gosh, it was so good. This one I published first though, because it was easier than the other one. The remaining 400 pages came second. Deep South Doolies. Grandma lied about her birthplace. I had to find out why. And so the big thing with this book is newspapers. I found 70 newspaper articles on my grandmother, Daisy Dooley Marshall. Now, some of you may remember a magazine called Jet magazine. I didn't care about what people were wearing, what they ate. I didn't care anything about that. I care now because I can write the book with authenticity, knowing why she was at this event, why she was doing this fundraiser. And so anyway, so that was really good. And census records were great. West Virginia, we just celebrated in Juneteenth, 2022. My third 3 times great grandmother, Margaret Booker, was enslaved in Beverly, Randolph County, West Virginia. And she made it to Ohio. So 30 years a slave, 50 years free. And on Juneteenth, we had an exhibit. I was working with, you read it in my bio. I was working with the Beverly Heritage Center to document all the African Americans who were there. And they had this wonderful celebration that they just took down. So the exhibit was up for about 3 years, and that was way cool. Okay, and then I've already talked about the forbidden chats on the genealogy trip. So, got it? Anyone want to go ahead and have a pencil, pen, paper? We're going to do a little exercise. It'll be 10 minutes. And it'll be fun. We're going to go into woo-woo land a little bit, though. So, let's see. Sorry about this. You would not believe what I have going on in front of me here. Okay. You want me to do what? I want you to think about focusing on one person. I personally don't believe that it's possible to write one book about all of your family members. Now, maybe you can, like if you're going to do the Genesis version of genealogy, who begat who, right? That was the standard way. If you, especially a lot of Caucasians have this, they've already done the book. It's a red book. It's a hardbound red book. And it's who begat who and where they lived by generation. It's really important to have that. Absolutely. But it's not a fun book to read. It's not. So my suggestion is that you think about focusing on one person. Write the nifty things about them, the not so nifty things about them in a first edition book. And I say that because I don't believe we can find all the information about an individual because digitalization is big and it's going on. We don't have a percentage of all of the records that have already been digitized, but there's a bunch that haven't yet been. So why not just say, hey, I'm just gonna,
Can I say this, Kathy? Your suggestion that you start with one person is really very good. That's how I started.
we'll be okay.
I'll just tell a quick story that my great grandmother's, I'm with Ancestry.com, and my great grandmother's death certificate floated into my box. It came to me in an email. She died when she was 57, and I got this notice like right before my 57th birthday.
Oh, girl, I'm sorry.
No, I was okay that I was going to make 57, but it made me think about, her and like, whoa, so she died this young. So her details sent me on a search to do more. And the first essay I wrote, I put it in the chat. Texas, our Texas, my family's quote, deep roots in the Lone Star State. And I published it with the Texas State Genealogical Society.
Excellent.
And And the other essay is one that I did on a woman at my church. I did a Juneteenth presentation last year on William Marsh Rice's activities in the Fourth Ward area, which is a historic area in Houston, Texas. It's called Freedmanstown. And when I talked about Rice's activities in the Fourth Ward and called his full name, William Marsh Rice, one of the members of our church who's just turned 86, like today, we were wishing her a happy birthday. She said, "You said William Marsh Rice. My daddy worked for him."
Mm.
And I went, "Whoa." So the historian in me just went and started pulling all that story together. And what I found out was that her father worked for William Marsh Rice Jr., one of the original trustees of Rice University, and her grandfather was born enslaved in 1861, and he worked for William Marsh Rice Jr.'s brother, who was a colonel in the state of Texas. So she did not know anything about her grandfather. And this just took us, of course, back to 1861, but it was still the period of slavery, and it was still before she knew that her family descended from urban slaves. So it opened up the opportunity to look at slavery in Houston, Texas, where at that time there were about 1,000 Black urban slaves in Houston.
Mhm.
There are others in other parts, but just one record. In both of those cases, I started with one record. And it's good because it helped the research to stay focused, right? And I'll say this too. When I started looking, I have started putting my family tree together, and all the cousins and all of that. You mentioned 26,000 in your family. I just looked at my DNA test. It was 16,000 for me,
There
right?
you go.
16,000 people that I'm connected to. So I'm like, I can't do all those people, not right now. So I'm glad you've talked about that too, how to approach, you
Mhm.
know, just yours. This has just been very helpful for you to say, okay, don't try to put everybody in the same book unless you're going to do a kind of so-and-so beget so-and-so, which, as
Yep.
you said, is not very interesting.
It's the only way I could do them. It's the
Mhm,
only way I can do them. So that's what we're going to talk about. And this focus exercise is to help you do that, learn how to do that and try
mhm,
it. And I'm so glad you brought up those examples. They're so important, really, really helpful. So that's why I do it this way. I focus on one person.
mhm.
Um, and I write a first edition book, which means I give myself 9 months. The ancestors told me you got a year to get the book.
Well, when you say a book, how long are these books? How long are these books?
Usually about 300 pages. But they
Okay.
don't have to be. There are genealogists that have a 100-page book. I
Well,
I put the depth, I put the documents in here and the photos in there. I want
or
we're
just as I mentioned, it can be an article.
absolutely. Yeah, that was on
Yes.
my slide. Oh, you couldn't see it though. That was on the slide with the journals. You like you did, the historical society journals. Um,
Mhm.
yes, you can blogs. You can have a book of blogs if you are a blogger, if you're a newsletter person. Just like you did, you repackaged in a way some of the wonderful, writing works from Lillian. What's her name?
Lillian Jones Horace.
And you can do that.
Mhm,
You can do that. You can collaborate. You can have a bunch of folks write
mhm,
separate chapters, like you're doing. You
mhm.
had some like your folks who critiqued, right? What her writings and all that stuff, the second part of the book that I'm
Yeah.
reading now. You can do that. You can do, and you know what? When you self-publish, you can do whatever the heck you want to do. And that's why, even
Yeah.
though, honestly, yes, still to be published by one of the big five, I'm sorry, DEI is dead for right now. Not to say
Mhm.
it will remain dead. It's on the way out. We're going to keep it live, though. We're going to keep it alive by doing it ourselves. That's my point. We
Yeah.
can for free. To self-publish on Amazon Kindle is going to cost you $5 to print a book, and you can sell it for whatever you want. I'm not playing. We can do it ourselves.
Yes.
whatever kind of book you want to do. And this is how I start every single one of my books. And I did this in 2016. I laid out 10 books. This one's going to be about this person. And so this exercise, once we get in, you'll kind of see what that means and how it clicks. You don't have to do it this way, but this way works.
Let me just pause for a second too to talk about publishing. So for those who are in graduate school, there is the traditional academic route for publishing that if you're in the academy, you have to respect that. But not all of your writing has to be done in that format, right? Like the book that she mentioned, I published with the university press. That fits the standard for Texas Southern. But the research that I'm doing on my family, it's valuable to me, but I don't need to wait on somebody to tell me whether or not I can talk about my father. You know, and that's more important for me and for my offspring. So I'm perfectly fine and okay with using my ability to write using an independent press,
Mhm.
right? So it's knowing who your audience is and what the purpose of your writing is.
Yep.
And there are some people who, just as you said, they'll hold out for some huge press that may never care. And I can say this too. I have literally submitted articles to presses, and one press I still haven't heard back from them, and I'm talking 10 years ago. So, so if I was waiting on them, Angie Brown would not be published, and it would not have gotten an award. It won a 2019 Indie Award, but that press still has that manuscript and has never taken the time to just write and say we don't want to publish it, or I mean certainly they didn't want to because they didn't, but the point is that the book was valuable,
And it's
and
valuable.
and it's out there and it's published, right? So
One
I
thing that
love,
we did is
I love independent presses for that reason.
and so there are so the other press that I have used is called lulu.com,
Mhm.
lulu.com. And it's the same basic process as the Devil Kindle. And sorry, but that's what I call it. But that's what I use. But Lulu is a great product and it works the same way. And all it is, and and I think I briefly mentioned in one of the slides, is you take your manuscript, you get it all nice and prettied up, and you
Mhm.
upload it to whatever that source is, whatever that independent publisher or whatever publisher. You can do it to a local book, a local printer will print
Mhm.
books. I have one right down the street, right over there, and it'll print books, and it'll do that. So yes, you do not have to wait for anybody to tell you no, that your story is not valuable, whatever your story is. And that's what my platform is you can do it, and you can do it without a whole lot of bother.
And I would say, I would add to that, and do it well. You know, you did have the suggestion of using someone to help edit, you know, because you still want it to be well written.
And so
If it's a book, you know, you do want it to be well written. So I would encourage using all the support systems that you can, but don't be shy about publishing your work. It's your work.
I left out some stuff here because but
That's okay.
absolutely, absolutely. And I do always recommend that you get a professional editor. If you're
Mhm.
not comfortable with computers, get someone to help you with the formatting. Although the class that I'm teaching formats it for you, I'm giving them a format. They just got to throw
Mhm.
their stuff in it and then upload it and print
Well,
it.
there's a lot more support out there for writing, you know, tools that can help with that. But it doesn't hurt also to take a few fun writing classes. I don't mean where you're getting a paper graded, but where it's being evaluated and someone is guiding you. One of the best writing courses I ever took in the history of my career in education was a class called Experimentation and Form. It was a night class that I took, um, at continuing adult education. And you mentioned my title, Kathy. The teacher in that class said, "Karen, you write great titles."
You have a great title. I
I-
that
I've
you
had
said, go ahead.
I'm just saying I've had people say that, and so then finally I said, okay, that's one of my gifts. I can write great titles. Now I may not be able to write a 600-page book, but hey, I can give you a good
Oh, I
title
want to write a, no,
and
no, no.
use what you got.
Let me tell you, that 600-page book is not in. The recommended would be about 150 pages. People do
Yeah,
not want 50,000 words or less.
right.
That's what the experts say. People do not want to hold a big old book. They
That's
want to
true.
hold a book that like that you put in your pocket or whatever. So
It's
yeah,
changed.
it
Yeah.
has changed a lot. So you do not have to write a whole bunch. You can
Mhm.
write a 50-page book. And that's what I suggest people do. Print it, a draft, what they call a proof, at 50 pages. So this template that I put together is, anyway,
Kathy, have you ever written any children's books related to your family?
I write several children's books, but I use a photo book format.
Okay.
Like the first 25 years of my one son's life, the first 5 years of each grandchild, but
Mhm.
and so this one, my youngest was learning to read, so I wrote a book
Mhm.
for him, a reading book. I wrote a reading book. It
Mhm.
was a poem actually to help him read. Absolutely. And the photo book works really well for that because you can have photos, you can have,
Mhm.
fun stuff too. And it's very, if you choose to do it that way, it can be very economical if you get on their mailing list. I use Walgreens,
Mhm.
and there's no shipping. You press your button to print 3 hours, you walk yourself, or because it's right down the street from me. I just walk and pick up my book.
Mhm.
Full color
So are
print.
we gonna do this exercise or have we started it and I just kept talking? But I'm sorry.
So here we go.
Mhm.
Everyone have your pen? Yeah, I know Jason does. Okay. Whew. I'd like you to relax by finding a comfortable seating position. Now close your eyes if you feel comfortable and put one hand on your belly. I want you to concentrate on your breathing. Let's slow down life's busyness for a few minutes. I'd like you to allow the cool, fresh, life-giving air to enter your nostrils. Let the invigorating oxygen fill up the lowest part of your belly, just like a balloon. Imagine the balloon filling with air, and then puff out your chest and fill your lungs too. And then slowly blow the air out through your open mouth, emptying the stale air from your lungs all the way down to your belly. Do it again. Breathe in the clean, positive thoughts that you will find your ancestral information. And then blow out any negative thoughts. And just keep breathing like that, very slowly, deliberately, hand on your belly, feeling it get full with air, and then collapse down. Keep breathing in and out as I give you a magic wand from the ancestors. This gift will take care of all of your responsibilities for 24 hours. Your spouse, your kids, your job. Keep breathing. The magic wand will grant you a 24-hour vacation anywhere in the world during any time period in history. It invites you to select one of your ancestors that you may visit with. This would be someone that you've heard an interesting story about or found one tiny kernel of information about. Who would that person be? Who would you love to spend 24 hours with so you could ask them questions about their life, maybe to write a story of their life? And again, you should ideally know their name and at least one or two snippets about them, whether that's family lore or anything. Who would that person be? Concentrate on that person. Okay, now open your eyes. Okay, so how do you feel? Did it work for you? Did anything come to mind? Any person come to mind? I hope. Write on your paper the word who, W-H-O, write it on your paper, and write the name of the person that if you could spend 24 hours not worrying about anything else, just drilling them about everything. But it's helpful to know at least something about them. You have to know at least something. Not my fifth great grandparent, but you have to know at least something, either the name or where they might have lived. It can be a story, it can be family lore, whatever, but just put down their name. Okay? And if you can't think of anybody, you absolutely can't, then write your own name down for the who. Okay, next. Why did you write that name? Why did you write your who? Why did you choose that person? Why are they so special that you would want to write a book about them? And if you are your who person, why do you want people to know about you? So just spend a minute or so and just write down, why is that person so important? Why do you want to meet with them? Okay, is that enough time? You can always add more a little bit later. My who person was my grandpa, Austin Marshall, the fellow in the picture here. Why? Nobody knew much about him, and I couldn't write the Marshall Heritage book without knowing about Grandpa first. Okay, so next. What three things I'd like you to please write down? No, K-N-O-W. Three no's, K-N-O-W. And sorry for the last one, I should have told you to write W-H-Y, but probably got the gist of that. What three things do you already know about your who person? Do you have family stories, census records, photographs, obituary, death records, city directories, land records, church records, memorabilia? Do you have anything at all? And again, it's really important that you choose a who for whom you have at least something that you can build on. And I love the story that Dr. Karen mentioned about the woman finding out about the nexus of her kin and who were just from initially said there was like one source and it brought all this great information. What three things? You can do more, but for right now, just three things. And if you don't have three, put two. Whatever you do have, write that. And again, you can always come back later and fill these out more. Okay, so we'll go to the next step. Number 4 is where, W-H-E-R-E, please write that down. Where did your who person live? And so that would be specific states, cities, counties, however specific you want to be. Where's the setting? And if you don't know, you absolutely don't know, just put a question mark. It's not a terrible thing if you don't know. Most of us don't know. That's why we're here. My grandpa, Austin Marshall, was born in Columbus, Georgia. He lived there most of his life. He lives most of his life in Cleveland, Ohio, then died in his original hometown. And the Marshall legacy in black and white, I wrote about a trip he likely took with his wife, my grandma Daisy Dooley Marshall. I got something from the tourism board, facts, and I turned it into dialogue. Just a hint on how you might want to take those facts. They're still facts. They're still good for the genealogical proof standard because you're still going to put a little, what do you call that? A footnote, end note. You're going to talk about the source, but you can make it interesting.
In history, we call that contextualizing the story.
I like it. Is it okay in history?
Absolutely.
I like it because then people can more relate to,
Mhm.
oh, wow, well, that sounds kind of like I had a brick schoolhouse too, or whatever. So yeah, and dialogue is very helpful. Having people talking, you can describe what they look like and not. Okay, so are you guys finished with your where? And again, if you don't know, we can do that later. The last question is, what 3 questions would you like to ask during that 24-hour visit? So when you were there, hopefully thinking about this, what do you want to know about your who? Just think about the who person. What questions would you ask? And if we have time later, I'd be kind of interested in some of the questions that you come up with. My general ones are, who were the parents of my who? And if you're adopted, why did you put me up for adoption? That would sure be a question I would ask. Who was the family slave owner? Who were the descendants of so and so? Can DNA find more cousins? You know, what floats your boat? What kind of questions would you ask? And just write them down, and you can always add to them. These are going to become your research goals. It's a structured procedure that starts with this focus exercise. This is the most important part of my process, and it can help you focus on one person. And then but not just one person, you're going to research wide the siblings of that one person, the parents and ancestors, right? And the descendants. So you're going to go wide and deep. And we start with one person. So people tell me, I'm not going to write a book about one person. Are you crazy? If I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book about all my family. It's not going to work, probably. Concentrate on just these few things, maybe if you want. Just say, I'm going to write a first edition book. I'm going to spend 9 months or a year, whatever I have in a year, that's what I'm going to publish. And I'm going to say in the epilogue, this is what my goals were. This is what I did find. This is what I didn't find. And I'll come back in 3 or 4 years and update it. If you are your own publisher, you can update it easily, free. Do you hear me? I'm talking free. You can do that. You can't change the title or the subtitle, but you can change darn near everything else. You can add to it when you haven't, believe me, even if you have a publisher, there are mistakes. You need to correct the mistakes. I need to go back in. Oh my gosh, I forgot some. Okay, that's it. That's the most important part of the process. So what? What's the purpose of doing it? The who could become your book title. If you notice on my books, you'll see them in the last page. They all have a name of somebody. That's my who. You can start your book just by putting the name of your who. And then you could talk about the who in an introduction. It's a nonfiction book. If you want to write a nonfiction book, generally there's an introduction. There's, just generally, and you can have just a really short 1-page intro, 2-page intro, maybe just let the reader know how it's structured. Chapter 1, you could talk about the who a little bit. The why can be in the introduction and talk about it in chapter 1. But here's the most important one. And this is what freed me in 2016 to finally be successful as a genealogist. This is my secret. People had said all the time on podcasts, start by writing what you already know. And I didn't know what they meant until I was 60 and I understood what it meant. It means if you've already been collecting information, you've already got stories, you've already started writing these little snippets from the ground. Start your book with those. Put them in chapter 3 as chapter 2, what you already know, and just say, and this is what I want to know. This is all I know, but this is what I want to know. And then you get into your goals, and each of those goals, the what can be a separate chapter. Your where, the settings can be a separate chapter where you go and look at the whole community like you were talking about. Once you found out about that community that you were saying in your story, write one whole chapter on that. That's how I started finding Otho with a spreadsheet. I had 2 spreadsheets. All I had was the 1870 and the 1880 census. Nobody wants to start a book with statistics, right? But I did it in such a way that I brought the character to be alive and with me. And I am explaining to my great-great-grandfather, who I imagined is right next to me, how to read that darn analysis, because most people don't know how to read it. And I'm pointing my finger like I would a 5-year-old, because he doesn't know how to read. He didn't know how to read. It was illegal to teach him. On and on. That I'm getting off on the 10. Anyway, so that's how you could set up your draft book. That's it. To summarize, do the focus exercise, gather your research documents, maybe you'll create a timeline of events. Do a DNA test. It's fun. Number one, it's fun, but it will really help you if you're at all interested in family history. It's a must for African Americans, in my opinion, because that whole slavery period and the names you can't trust just because it's your father's name was Roy doesn't mean his father was named Roy. I'm telling you, you got to go with the blood. The blood is the DNA. And anyway, so that and test your siblings, your elders, your cousins in that line, whatever line that you're focused on. It's really helpful to have second cousins and first cousins take a DNA test also. Believe that you can and that you will write your ancestors' story. Believe it's possible, and it's possible. You can do it. And let the world know who we are. That's it.
Wonderful.
I think that's it. I'm not going to even go and see if there's another slide after that.
That's excellent.
Oh, there is one. Oh, there is one. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's me. And so again, the African American Literature Book Club, aalbc.com. Make sure that when you do, if you publish your books, put them on AALBC too. And I'm starting to buy my books from them instead of Amazon, because that
Mm,
keeps the Black community strong.
mm.
We can do that. So these are the books on the bottom that have been published. I'm working on getting number 9 out. Oh, I'm so close. I'm so close. Anyone want to beta read my, my book? And if you have any questions and if you want access to some of those YouTube videos, feel free to, that's the name of it. I think I say Kathy Lynn space Kanika Marshall. You can go on YouTube and go there, but most of the presentations are not public. And so if you want something, like if you want the one that's about self-publishing, let me know.
So you're getting really positive reviews. Nelva Williamson wrote in the chat, this was wonderful. Thank you for the information. I absolutely totally agree.
Okay, thank you. But, really, I want us to do it because we're
Right,
going into a period that's going to be challenging.
right,
All Americans, it's going to be challenging, and but we can do it ourselves. And until they take away our ability to publish on wherever we want to publish, we can publish.
right.
We can publish.
Well, Kathy, let me just say, one of the reasons that I wanted you to come was because I think true freedom begins with knowing who you are,
Mhm.
knowing who you are. And that means knowing your family history. It's a thought that came to me several years ago. I hosted a workshop, something in the fall that I call um, Family History, Our Heritage and Hope. So once you start researching your family and understanding all that they survived and all that they did, and the fact that you're here breathing, living, breathing, example of their effort, there's a strength that comes with that you just don't get from anywhere else. And I'll say that the first piece that I wrote on my family, it was actually a reaction to a lot of the state laws that were coming down to restrict what we taught. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be restricted when it comes to doing research on my family. So when I submitted the essay to this to STERPS, it really had a political bent to it. And the editor wrote back and said, "We don't publish political pieces." I was telling a few state legislators off. She said, "We don't publish political pieces." So I took the piece back and I took the political part off of it. And then I realized I just had a wonderful story anyway. And I was
Yeah.
so glad she suggested that because the story lives beyond politics. And that's the whole point. Your history lives beyond whatever is going on. Your history is, okay? And so there's a kind of internal spiritual confidence that comes with knowing who you are.
Mhm.
And so it's one of the reasons why I was so happy that Kathy was able to present. I just found out about her work a few days ago, And I said, what are the chances of her being able to say yes to be the first presenter? And the person that I reached out to, for legitimate reasons, was not able to do it. And I said to myself, there's probably a reason why. And then I bumped into Kathy and saw her work and said, this is why. Okay.
Okay. You've
Because of
answered
all
the
that you had to share. And I'm just really grateful that you were able to respond on a dime and give us this wonderful presentation all the way from California.
It's something that people helped me. So many
Mm.
people helped me. So many people helped me. They didn't ask for anything. So many people helped me. And I want us to do this because, some doors are getting closed and we need to keep our foot in that door. And we can. And even so, as I was afraid, because I really stretched the genealogical proof standard. That is a strict set of rules that genealogists are want if you want to be considered a genealogist. And so I stretch them by having dialogue in there that I wasn't there in 1800. But there was still enough fact. But sometimes you got to stretch even more. And so I did throw in my hat in the fiction ring too, where it starts off
Mm.
with our family stories, but I rewrite the ending to what I want it to be. And I just like you said, you repackaged one of your stories and you took out some of the potentially objectionable stuff. Well, for
Yeah,
me, I get to put the objectionable stuff in. And I love it. But it's very, very important. And I so encourage, again, if you're a young person and you're not interested, I understand. But just hopefully you'll remember this when you're at the Thanksgiving dinner or the whatever dinner with the elders, and just maybe try it. Just see, because they're really interesting. They've lived through a lot. Just don't ask those straightforward questions.
this is so wonderful. So do any of our guests have verbal comments to make or have a question for Kathy?
Can they
We
just read themselves? Yeah.
No,
No,
I just want to say, no,
okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thanking her. And I lived in the Bay Area for 35 years. So I recently left San Francisco and Oakland.
Oh,
So,
uh,
you sound just like my cousin David. You sound like my cousin David. Yeah.
check your DNA.
Oh, I do have walkers in the Ohio area.
yeah, I was born in Gary.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Drop me a line. See where's my email address? I don't have one, but Kathy at KathyLynnMarshall.com, or I guess hopefully that will work.
Okay, Jason?
No, just I want to thank you very much. It was a wealth of good information. A little side note, my sister, she's an author, and a couple of weeks ago, she's gonna freak out when I tell her this story about this class. A couple of weeks ago, she reached out to me and she called me Big Ed. She said, Big Ed, I want to interview you for my book, and I want to ask you a bunch of history questions. And I said, okay, cool. So, we set up the meeting and everything, and we sat down, and the first question she asked me, I had no clue what the answer was, and the question was, do you know where the last name Wells comes from? And I had no idea where my last name came from. So this class was like, it was right on time. So I'm definitely going to apply a lot of the tools that you gave us today. So thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it.
Right. And anyone else before I answer, Jason? Because I got some quickie stuff for you. Start with yourself. Do that family tree. There's some real. It doesn't have to be an actual tree, but if
Mhm.
but put down your mother's, in this case, it'd be your father's side, right? Because most likely it's the male side. Try to find your father, find a couple of documents that prove that that's your father, go up, 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 up. And that last name, keep on going as far as you can go. Hopefully, and make it back to 1870 census. Look
Okay.
at where hopefully you'll be able to find where they're living in 1870 and check all the neighbors, called the fan club, friends, associates, and neighbors. Are there any wells around that, black wells, white wells around your wells. Check many pages.
May
You
I
know,
make a suggestion too, just because I don't want to forget? Jason, when you and your sister are conversing, if you're on Zoom, one thing that's really great about Zoom now is that it will transcribe everything. So
Okay.
I am thinking about having my relatives, my sisters and brothers, get on Zoom and tell stories, because we tell stories all the time, but you know, they're in the air and they're gone.
Right.
So I'm gonna, because I've been trying to get them all to write a chapter, but they like talking too much. So I'm just gonna say, let's get on Zoom and you just talk out all those stories and Zoom will basically transcribe all of it.
Okay. Wow.
I didn't know about the transcription. We have
Yes.
meetings, but and we record them.
And in fact, Zoom for this meeting is gonna give me a summary of everything we said.
Excellent,
And
Wow.
I'll share it with you.
excellent.
Mhm.
Regarding the 1870 census, if you do well, find your family back there, and you do find if you are, because 90% of African Americans were enslaved. The likelihood is that you come from enslaved. All my lines are enslaved.
Mhm.
Um, if you see people with a lot of money, because 1870 tells you what your net worth is. Okay,
Okay.
to see who's rich and who ain't rich. If your family is close to those rich people, those could have been former slave owners. And if that name was Wells, it's probably not, but it might, because a lot of enslaved people took a different name as soon as they could.
Well, Kathy, this has been wonderful. It is now 8:31.
Wait a minute. Oh,
It is,
sorry.
I cannot believe it. We're at 8:31. This has been absolutely wonderful. I want to thank those who came out. This has been a real treat. And this was a wonderful way to begin our exploration of Black Texas history in the digital age. So thank you very much. And thank everyone for coming.